Should be good.
Welcome back to the second part of our regularly scheduled city council meeting dated April 25, 2022. At this time, we will call the meeting to order and we'll move into the Pledge of Allegiance again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for reciting that Pledge of Allegiance twice tonight. Moving into the approval of the agenda, you were all presented with the agenda earlier this week. Councilmember Williams was just presented with the agenda, so she had to do some homework rather quickly. At this time, I will entertain any motions to approve the agenda with the addition of one item, which will be on the regular agenda, election of standard allowance for American Rescue Plan Act funds, resolution R 2022-024.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Sullivan, seconded by Councilmember Swanberg. Any discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on to the next item is swearing in our new council member. That would be Ms. Pam Williams. At this time, we will swear you in. Do we do that at the podium? I think that might be best, maybe with photo ops or whatever. So we'll have you stand photo. Pam, do you also have a copy of the?
Yep.
So I'll read it and you can have it in front of you in case I go too far with the words. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll have you put your right hand up, Pam. I state your name,
I, Pam Williams,
an elected city council member of the city of Sueur,
an elected city council member of the city of Sueur,
do affirm that I will faithfully perform the duties of my elected office
do affirm that I will faithfully perform the duties of my elected office
and will support and honor to the best of my ability all applicable laws of the city of Sueur,
and will support and honor to the best of my abilities all applicable laws of the city of Sueur,
Sueur County, and the Constitution of the United States and Minnesota,
Sueur County, and the Constitution of the United States and Minnesota,
as well as any appropriate policies or procedures adopted by Sueur City Council,
as well as any appropriate policies or procedures adopted by the Sueur City Council.
I hereby, through this oath of office, affirm that I will perform the duties of this public trust in a fair,
I hereby, through this oath of office, affirm that I will perform the duties of this public trust in a fair,
equitable, and ethical manner,
equitable, and ethical manner,
benefiting the dignity and responsibilities of the office of the best of my judgment and ability for my role on the Sueur City Council.
benefiting the dignity and responsibilities of the office to the best of my judgment and ability for my role in the Sueur City Council,
As well as any boards, commissions, or other appointed positions.
as well as any other boards, commissions, or other appointed positions.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again, welcome, Ms. Williams. We appreciate you stepping up and helping us with the tough challenges we have ahead of us. Moving on to the next item would be the consent agenda. You've all had an opportunity to look over the consent agenda. I'm going to ask that Public Works Director Rich Kachira kind of review some of these with us, if you would, or summarize.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The first item is the updated council minutes. I believe those were sent out previously today, as noted. Expense approval report 4/25/2022. Some key items on that: Magny Construction for the continued work on well house and well 8. Department of Revenue for March 22 sales tax, and Northland Trust Services for the 2014A debt service, and that is the community center roof project debt service. Next, we have the CASA 36 extended working hours. This is similar to what we went through last year last year and 2 years ago for the CASA 22 project. They're asking mainly for Saturdays so they can start at 7. As we all know, the first leg of this project is to start next week, and they have a 3-week window. They have to be out of that area, and they will be needing all the time they can get on weekends to get that work done to get out of that area. Approved CASA 36 project staging area. The contractor came to the city, asked us about the property. We wanted to get council to know that they were doing it, and we are fine with it. They're going to restore it to better condition than what we got it right now, so it's a good deal for us. The Sueur Baseball Association liquor license. This is a temporary liquor license for the Baseball Association. R22-021 Borat Street no parking area. This is a safety issue that has been brought up by city staff and by Chief Tiki. As currently allowed, there's parking on both sides, which makes that street very narrow and tough for emergency personnel to navigate. Resolution 22-023 LSPD Joint Powers Agreement. This is just an update of our past agreement because we have a new police chief, so we had to update the current documents to follow. Item H, extension of animal control contract. That is the Critter Gators contract extension who most local communities are using. 22-022, denial of 608 Wolf Street variance. That's a continuation of the Wolf Street variance that was before council, I believe, is about a month ago. So this will document that council has denied that the previous request. And item J is a full-time police officer hire. Is there any questions?
Any questions for Director Kuchera?
The Bullwright Street parking, are there other options for them to park? I know, I mean, because there's quite a bit of parking there now.
I believe there's one home on that stretch, is there not?
But it's the apartments on the other side.
Excuse me.
So they do have
The
options.
apartment does have a parking lot.
I just wanted
And
to
garages, I believe.
make sure they at least
Yeah.
had an option.
Yeah. But on the side of the street where the city building is, there is only one home there. Is that not
The
correct?
north side.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. So, any other questions? If not, I would, any concerns, comments? If not, I would entertain any motions to approve the consent agenda.
No move.
Councilmember Groveman, thank you.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Sullivan. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it. We did have a recess planned in there. I think what I would like to do is, with that said, after public comment, I think I'd like to take a recess then. I know we have a gentleman here waiting to make a comment, and I think I'd like to move into public comment before we go into the recess, if that's okay with everybody here.
I think that would be a great idea.
Is that okay? Okay, public comment provides an opportunity for the public to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Persons wishing to make a comment must sign in advance of the meeting on the sheet provided and identify themselves by providing their name and address. I believe we just have Mr. Mike Tui today. And at this time, I would like to welcome you to the podium, and you'll have your opportunity to address the council.
Thank you. And I would like to start by congratulating you on a wonderful pick. Eminently qualified, thumbs up. Now, when I turned mine in, for those of you that read it, so, fiduciary. To me, I'm a fiscal conservative, and by now you've probably guessed my politics are a little bit to the right of Attila the Hun. And my concern is the spending in this city. I went through the exercise of the W-2 forms in 2020, not a gotcha. I just wanted to see where in the heck is the money going? Do a little thing with the help of Ms. Lawrence, find out we got 86 full and part-time employees, but you got 136 W-2 forms. issued. Now, I asked, Joe called me, God bless him, he's not here to defend himself, but he called me and he called me back on those 50 extra. And he said he believed it was summer employees. And I said, Joe, if you want to believe that, that's fine. You know, great. I don't happen to. He did say he would go into it deeper. I said, nah, I've been doing this for 2 months. Enough is enough. But just think about it logistically. You got 3 months roughly, right? So you'd have to have a group of 17 part-timers work for 4 or 5 weeks, quit. A second group of 17 part-timers come in, work for 4 or 5 weeks, quit. And then a third group of 16 do the same thing for the end of the season. I don't see that happening. So again, where's the money going? I look at the community development director. I have a question for you. How many grant applications did Ms. DiMaggio author for the city of Sueur during her tenure? Does anybody know?
I do not.
Huh?
I do not off the top of my head.
Which is my point. In the paper, Councilman Krogman said she paid for herself. Well, you know, for as long as she was here, did she get lucky? Was she 1 for 1? What was it? But you folks were more than willing, with the exception of one, to go out and spend $150,000 with salary and bennies. And you don't know the answer to that question, which is the primary, according to Mr. Krugman, reason we need one. Now, again, Joe's not here. He called me back. And in his defense, he said it's not just grant writing. It's zoning. It's right of way. It's whatever else they do. Well, everything that I recall him ticking off is something a city attorney can fix. And you got one of them already. I don't get it. Where is all the money going? And finally, I will bring it up again. You got a few minutes. Google the 98% budget of the state of Delaware. Think about it. You have a revenue forecast. You do it every year. Every government body does. But you're only allowed to spend 98% of it in budget. The city of Sueur is not the country of Japan. You don't get hired here with the expectation of a lifetime employment. Those of us who have been in business know the worst thing you have to do. I know in my career of over 40 years in manufacturing, I can still remember the single worst day of my life in business is when I had to say, here's the pink slip. Why? Because business was down. We see it every year in the schools. Dave, how many times did you live through it where you say, hey, we had to cut this staff position, we had to cut that staff position? Why was that? Quite simply, there wasn't enough money. But the school district, unlike this council, can't print money. You guys do it by raising taxes rather than say, you know, if we cut 2 hourly employees within this city, we'll save $150,000 a year between salary and benefits. Those hard decisions are not being made. And that's what I would have participated with here on the council. So I thank you. I applaud again your choice with Pam. I hope I've made my point.
Mike, we appreciate your opinion. We appreciate your time. Bear in mind, you brought up some points about having a city attorney, enforce some of those rules and things. You got to keep in mind, we pay our city attorney for the work they do. That's money in, money out.
Exactly.
And I worked with Ms. DiMaggio quite closely when she was with our city. And I do know for a fact she did do a lot of grant writing. I can't tell you how many she wrote. we've had a lot of exciting things happen in this community when she was here and with our last city administrator here. And I like to credit a lot of the council and the people of Sueur with that. So there, and I'm out in the public quite often, and I'm getting a lot of accolades from people that are pretty excited about the direction this community is going. Could we do better? Absolutely. That's what we're here to do, is to do better fiscally. And we have been without a community development director for quite some time now. So and we're gonna weigh in all of these different aspects of who we're looking for and what these new duties will include when and if this new hire happens. So we are assessing things. We are,
I
and
understand.
we appreciate your frustrations. We appreciate your time here.
Right.
So
Thank you. Have a good evening.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
You want to do this?
Well, because first thing after the recess.
Yep, that sounds good. Before we move into our recess, we've got a couple of things on our regular agenda. One of them is the one item that was added for the election of standard allowance for American Rescue Plan Act funds. I think we'd like to move into that right now. You've all been presented with that. Yes. Oh, thank you. At this time, we'll vote to close public comment. It is so moved. Thank you, Mr. Swanberg, Mr. Huntington. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Moving on to the regular agenda, we're going to cover R 2022-024, the election of standard allowance for American Rescue Plan funds. Mr. Kuchera, is there anything you can share with us? Is this kind of a standard type item that I'm assuming shed a little light on it for us?
Yes, Mayor, this is a standard accounting document is what this is. Excuse me. But this is nothing new. All this is as we are going through the audit, this is something the auditors have chosen, and all the utilities, all municipalities, government entities will be doing similar actions.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion to
So moved.
actions up there to approve resolution R 2022-024.
So
I'm going to
moved.
read the whole thing. It's been motion's been made by Mr. Swanberg, seconded by Council Member Huntington. Comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, we'll take a short recess before we move into the rest of the agenda. So, thank you. Ready? Yeah, we can do that. Are we broadcasting?
Yes.
Okay, we're back. We're back live. So I want to welcome everybody back. I want to welcome Mr. Michael Anderson at the podium. We appreciate you coming down here tonight. We're going to ask you a few short questions tonight. We met about a week or two ago.
It was a couple weeks ago, Mr. Mayor.
And just to kind of explain to the people that are listening, the process that we've gone through with this, we posted this position probably about a month ago. We had about 11 applicants, and out of those applicants, we carefully examined all the applications, the cover letters, the resumes that were sent, and we scored them, and we narrowed it down to 5 candidates. And we interviewed all 5 of those candidates. And out of those 5, we had 3 that we found to be qualified and we had a lot of trust in. And that's why we've asked Mr. Anderson back. We have Mr. Roby also that'll be speaking with us tonight. Mr. Anderson, what we're going to do is ask you a series of questions, and we're going to start with Mr. Councilman Sullivan, I'm sorry. And as we go around, they'll introduce themselves and kind of tell you how long they've been on the council and things like that. And then they will ask the question, and then you just answer it as directly and as short or as long as you want. Hopefully not more than, we will be at this more than 45 minutes or so. So with that said, I'm going to yield to Council Member Sullivan.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, real
Yes.
quickly, for the public, when you introduced the process, there were 3 of us who were appointed to an ad hoc group to do the screening and interview the 5. So the whole council has not interviewed the 5. This is our opportunity to interview the finalists. They were semifinalists that were interviewed by the 3 people, just for clarity.
Thank you.
And the 3 people were Councilmember Sullivan, Mayor Kirby, and myself. We were the 3 on that committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Mr. Anderson, thank you.
So that said, I'll yield to Mr. Sullivan.
Welcome back, Mike. I'm Marvin Sullivan. Met you the last time we were here. So my first question for you tonight is, after you have been the city administrator for Sueur for 5 years, what accomplishments would you hope that the citizens here would cite? If you'd like me to repeat that, I'm more than happy to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for having me here tonight. I think after being here for 5 years, I think there'd be a few things that I would like to accomplish and have the residents be thrilled with. I think the first one would maybe be development on the north side of town. I think there's roughly 140 some acres up by the water tower. I think it would be great to see that developed, get some new industries into town, get some more tax base going for the future. I know we had talked about your recreation center. I think you guys went through a master plan or are going through a master planning process for that facility. For those of you who don't know, I started my career in recreation, so I got a little soft spot there. So I'd love to get that going and see that move forward. And then, of course, adding residential construction, whether it be multifamily or single family dwellings in town, to entice young families to come live in Sueur.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Next question will be asked by Council Member Mark Huntington.
I am Mark Huntington, and you asked if all these are on council. I'm on council since 2004. Here for a while. And welcome, by the way. Was really intrigued by your resume.
Hey, Mark, you need your.
Sorry about that. What should Sueur be doing to become an even more vibrant and healthy community in the future?
Well, I think to start, just follow your master plan, your 2040 master plan. I kind of went through that a little bit today. I did like the motto of live, work, conserve, and prosper. I think to have a better, healthy community, it's important to have those amenities such as parks, trails throughout town. Not only does that help with a healthy lifestyle, but it also brings younger families that those things are important to help them come to town. So I think, having a good recreation system here in the Sueur would accomplish that.
Thank you. Next question will be Councilmember Schleter.
Well, Mike, Scott Schleter, I've been on the council for about 2.5 years now. My question is, what will be your approach with regard to working with city staff, with the city council, and with county and state government?
Well, I think to start, I would approach it by coming in every day. When you start a new position, you kind of want to meet and greet all the staff first, get a feel for how they like to work and how they like to operate, and then kind of adjust yourself to be able to work together with them to accomplish, the city council's goals. Working with the city council, I would obviously like to sit down and talk to each individual or as a group, maybe at a work session. And I'll ask the same questions. How do you guys like to communicate? How do you like to work? And then again, adjust myself in order to, to reach those goals. Meeting the county staff, it's important to have partnerships. So having, the Sueur be in Sueur County, I think is big. So just setting up a meeting with the county administrator, maybe seeing if there is a way to collaborate with certain services to help save the taxpayers money. So I think, just starting off by meeting everybody, developing that relationship, and then moving forward from there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Krogman.
Mike, welcome back. I'm Newell Krogman. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the Sueur in the next 5 to 10 years?
That is a good question, Councilmember. It's always, a struggle to kind of keep businesses in town. Other communities can kind of take them away, if they offer better incentives. So being prepared to, keep them in town, however you must do that. You want those businesses to stay in town. You want the workers to stay in town. You want that money to stay local. So keeping businesses and attracting new businesses, I think would be huge. I don't know if the council's aware, but there's a group called the Community Venture Network. I just went to a conference on Friday. Gentleman by Justin Erickson gets local businesses and contractors together to present to cities and other people to kind of say, here, this is what we need. So I have some relationships there already that might be able to help assist attract new businesses to town. And again, I think residential construction or new construction in town to bring more people to stay in the Sueur over the next 5 to 10 years would be a good challenge to face.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Councilmember Swanberg.
Hi, Mike. Second year here on the council, been a member of the city of Sueur for 36 years. What is your opinion about parks, trails, and recreational facilities in Sueur, and what might be done to improve them?
Well, Councilmember, like I mentioned, I come from a recreation background, so it's very important to me. Having a young family myself, trails are big. It's a necessity to get people out into the community. Access to the parks. I looked at your park map. You got a number of parks. I don't know what condition they're in, but parks are also important. When you got young families looking to move into town, they look for those kind of amenities. So if you don't have them, you're not going to get them. So improvements, I know there's all sorts of grants out there. We could seek funding to get new playground structures. There's like the new adult playgrounds that have like exercise equipment. So that might be a good addition, to the city. But yeah, just analyzing, the parks and trails system and improving it as best we can as needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our newest council member, Ms. Pam Williams.
And I saw that on the special meeting before this, so, well, congratulations. Yeah.
Not easy to be in your position, kind of being in the hot seat and having to answer all the questions. It's not hard to think on your feet. So my question is.
Oh, Pam, before you ask the question, microphone.
Sorry, part of the new process. So I welcome you for being here. And then my question is, why do you want to be our next city administrator?
Well, good question, council member, and welcome to the board. Well, I'm ready to be in a leadership role. You know, I've been in administration for a little over 6 years now. Prior to that, I was in recreation. All my experiences leading up to now have prepared me. I got the confidence to do it. I had mentioned in my previous interview, I like the small town aspect here, you know, a little over 4,000 residents. So, you know, I would imagine everybody knows everybody. In Waseca, there's 9,700 and it's just like that. So I like being out there. I like being visible. So leading up to now, you know, I've been in a lot of government roles. So I did seasonal maintenance in college for the city of Maplewood. Excuse me. Then I got into the city of Oakdale as a recreation coordinator for 5 years. Then I was at the city of Birchwood Village as their administrator clerk for 16 months. There, I did everything from the clerk duties to planning and zoning to elections, code enforcement, the financials. So I've seen a lot of, I'll call it departments or aspects of local government. And I feel like I could come in and relate to the current staff and maybe help them, see how they operate. If I have ways to improve that, then good. If not, then staff's already doing a great job. So I just think everything that I've been through now is leading me up to this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I'm going to ask you the last question. Again, my name is Mayor Sean Kirby. I've been our mayor since January of 2021, and I've been a part of the council since 2018 and a part of this community since 1985. Mr. Anderson, give us 3 reasons why we should choose you as our next city administrator.
Well, I think the first would be that I got good leadership qualities. I consider myself very approachable, open-minded, supportive of staff, transparent. I think transparency is key in this role and of course with city council. And I've, you know, good customer service. I've been doing customer service since I was 16 and I think that's important, and I feel like I am a good people person, so it's good to have that. I think I got the right management style to come in. I consider myself to be a little bit of delegative and democratic. You know, it's nice to get staff involved in the decision-making process. There's been times that I've seen where you don't, and then if it impacts certain staff the wrong way and they're not prepared. So I think it's important to involve staff in decision-making, and then just empower your employees in other certain decision makings. Like if there's something in the recreation department that that leader thinks is best for them, then you empower them to make that decision. And I want the role. I want the position. I think I'd be really good at it. And I'm just ready for the opportunity.
Mr. Anderson, thank you. I know this is uncomfortable taking questions like this, but we appreciate your time. You did very well. And at this time, we're going to ask the next candidate come in. Is that how we want to do that? Mr. Anderson, does he wait in another room for this? Or you want to sit down and be a part of this and listen to Mr. Roby, or do you want to?
What would the council like me to do? I'm okay not being in the room to help him maybe feel a little more comfortable.
I think if you want to have a seat, that'd be fine.
All
So,
right,
but thank you.
I'll do that, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, Mayor and Council.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
What's Stacy at?
What's your opinion?
Uh-oh.
It might be appropriate to call a quick recess since we're ahead of schedule.
Okay. At this time, we will take a 5-minute recess, all right? Okay, 5-minute recess. So moved, Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Ms. Swanberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Recess it is. Okay, ready? We are now back live from a short recess. We've interviewed Mr. Mike Anderson. At this time, we are going to welcome candidate Joseph Roby. So at this time, we'd like to invite Mr. Roby up to the podium. As we explained to Mr. Anderson, Mr. Roby, you're going to be asked a series of questions. There'll be one question per council member. Take whatever time you need to answer it. Make it as brief as you want it or as long as you wish. Like to keep it in that 45-minute range.
Okay, we can do that.
We're going to go around. We'll let everybody introduce themselves. As I stated before with you, I think you know everybody here, so we won't spend too much time on introductions. So we'll start with Mr. Sullivan.
Welcome, Joe. My name's Marvin Sullivan. I've got your first question tonight. After you have been the city administrator for Sueur for 5 years, what accomplishments would you hope that citizens here would cite?
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan. After being an administrator here at the city for 5 years, I would say broadly, I would like my fellow citizens to say that the Sueur they live in is a better version of itself than it was at the beginning of my tenure. I think looking around the community, we have done a lot here in the last several years in particular. Improvements to infrastructure, public safety, partnerships with businesses and schools. And I think that's put us on a really positive track for success, looking at the next 5 years. So looking at my 5-year plan, it would be a steady progress in the right direction. If we're not moving forward as a city, we're moving backwards because we know that everyone around us is moving forwards. And so moving forward would be my goal. And at the end of that 5 years, I'd like to be able to go to the grocery store or go to a basketball game and in general have the response be, things are better now than they were 5 years ago. And that's not a suggestion that what we have going on right now is negative. That's not it at all. And I hope it's not taken that way. Because again, I think there's no better place to be in this city's history than where we are right now, where we have a lot to look forward to and a lot of progress has been made and we have a lot of momentum going forward. And that's something that I would be excited to be a part of.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Moving on to Councilmember Huntington.
There, it's working. I'm Mark Huntington. You know me already. I've been on the city council on and off since 2004. So I've gone through this quite a bit of times. But I'd like to ask you a question, Joe, is what should Sueur be doing more to become even more vibrant and healthy community in the future?
That's a great question. And I've had a lot of time to think about that. The Sueur that I know now is very different than the Sueur that I grew up in, frankly. I'd like to think that I've been around long enough to see when Green Giant was Sueur, but now have the opportunity to live and work in this community when Sueur is in a very different place. And I think, you know, what I witnessed is a lot of years of the community trying to find itself. And what I'm really excited about is I think the community has really begun to find itself beyond the time of Green Giant. So I think embracing new ideas and embracing change is really important for Sueur. And I think that that's something that we've really done well over the last 5 to 10 years in particular, as we've been presented with change. We're never going to be able to go back to 1975, and I think that's okay, right? We have so much talent in this community, so many great ideas, a gorgeous setting, proximity to the Twin Cities Metro and to the rapidly expanding Mankato area. There's so much opportunity here that I think really embracing that challenge and not shutting out new ideas or new growth is really going to be important. I think we've done that, a good job of not shutting that out. But looking forward, even talking to, the new owners of the Patton Place, or, looking down at the new businesses springing up on South Main, embracing those new ideas as interesting and nuanced as they may be is really important to help the city grow, to help bring in new people, new ideas. We don't have to be the Le Sueur that we were 100 years ago, or even 50 years ago, or 30 years ago. We can be the new Le Sueur. And I think embracing that, the idea of that, and the hope that that brings for our community, that's the hope that I have personally, is really important. And I want to see the community embrace that.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Moving on to Councilmember Schleter.
Well, Joe, I'm Scott Schleter. I've been on the council for a little over 2 years now. My question is, what will be your approach with regard to working with city staff, with the city council, and with county and state government?
So my approach to all, I would say to all of those parties is similar in the approach that I take to the individual citizen who calls me with a question about a utility bill, or someone from a neighboring community who calls with a question, which is, my view is everyone is a partner, and in some respects a customer. That doesn't mean the customer is always 100% right? I mean, there is some of that, but it's we have really deep partnerships with a lot of individuals, county governments, even our brother and sister communities surrounding us, and with staff. And it's measuring, taking in guidance and suggestions. It means being willing to put forth your own ideas and really building those partnerships together. From a staff standpoint, I am not, nor have I think I've ever been accused of being a micromanager. I trust my staff. That is my goal, is to have a relationship built on trust, give them the tools that they need to be successful, have an open door to the extent that if they have questions or need something, they're willing to come to me. But ultimately, to allow them to flourish and do the very best that they can. From a county and state government standpoint, it's being involved and being engaged in those partnerships and taking an active role in those. Understanding that in a lot of cases, we just kind of have to roll with whatever the state or the county decides to do. But we are still a voice at the table, and being willing to have those conversations, make those phone calls, and express what our needs and desires are as a community is really important. And with council as well, that's very much a partnership. Understanding that council is not always going to be the same individuals. Not saying any of you are going to lose an election or anything, but just the reality is that at some point, right, we're going to have different council members. And when that happens, it's being very open about what that relationship looks like, what the needs are of individual council members, what the expectations are of council for leadership and for staff going forward. I think the relationship that we have with leadership and council right now is a really positive one, which I personally appreciate. And, because each individual council member has different questions, it comes with different perspectives, which is really what's valuable about a council, and why it's great that we have a council of 7 and not a council of 1 or 2. Because everyone talks to different individuals in the community, everyone has different experiences and backgrounds, and they bring that to the table. And so understanding and appreciating those unique backgrounds is really important. And I will say, not being afraid of the questions that come to you. I don't take questions personally. If someone, if the mayor or Mr. Schleter or Mr. Sullivan have a question for me and they see me out in public, or they call and ask a question, understanding that those questions are coming from good places, right? And typically just inquiring minds want to know. And one thing that I know I've told members of this council, and I've told people in my professional life throughout the years, is I'm not going to make something up. If I don't know, what I can promise is that I'll find the answer to it, instead of making something up, because there are going to be some answers that I don't have right away. And I'm okay with that. And I trust that by finding the answers to those questions, that council will be okay with that as well.
Thank you.
Very good. Moving on to Councilmember Krogman.
Joe, of course, I'm Newell Krogman. Let me ask you this question. What do you see as the biggest challenges facing Sueur in the next 5 to 10 years? The biggest challenges facing Sueur in the next 5 to 10 years?
Housing and housing and housing. Certainly business and economic development. We've seen some of that, and we've put, the city has, done some really positive things to generate some of that. We talked about it at the EDA meeting before the special meeting tonight, right? About some of the revolving loans that the EDA has been issuing out to businesses and the importance of those, helping to foster those new businesses. That's absolutely important. We are in that really unique geographic position right now where we're right on the cusp of Mankato and right on the cusp of suburbia. And we're in such a beautiful location that it's not going to take very much or very long to really really start to feel the pressure for housing. And it's no secret that the city is in need of housing space from a development standpoint. So when I look at challenges, I would say that's an acute challenge, not an insurmountable challenge, but something that we are well aware of and something that we have to continue to work on. Our relationship with the school district, I think, is not a challenge so much as an opportunity moving forward. The school district, of course, going through its own challenges right now. I think managing that relationship and working closely with the district, in particular around recreation, is going to be really important. And not a challenge to be afraid of, but an opportunity that we can take advantage of. And we're at a good place to do that. We have all the right people at the table to have that conversation, again, particularly around recreation. Housing, our relationships with other public entities, certainly, and business development. And then again, I think one of the challenges in a kind of an abstract sense is the challenge to keep moving forward, because after, if we start to grow complacent, then making progress becomes that much harder in 2 or 3 years. If we say, we've done enough projects, let's just hold off for a while and rest and on the 7th day and see how our work was. The fear is that if we do that, even a little bit of complacency, and we stop that forward progress, that momentum that we have, it gets harder to kick things back up. And so I don't ever want us to be comfortable as a community. And this is just my take as a private citizen. I don't want us ever to be content with mediocrity, content with being good enough. I think we have the tools to be extraordinary and exceptional. I don't think that's Pollyanna-ish. I think we have the people and the resources to do some really great things. And so a challenge is ensuring that we continue that forward progression.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to Councilmember Swanberg.
Hi, Joe. Dave Swanberg, second year on the council, 36-year member of the community. What is your opinion about parks, trails, and recreational facilities in Sueur, and what might be done to improve them?
There's always room for improvement. I think, getting back to what I mentioned about progress, some of the progress that the city's been able to make around trails and walkways in particular is great over the last couple of years, right? I think now the next big step is going to be parks. And there's been a lot of discussion. I know there's a meeting next week with the Veterans Memorial Task Force involving Legion Park. There's a lot more that we can do with that. And I think that's well known and that's acknowledged. I mean, we have some really, really beautiful green and open spaces that have in general remained unchanged over the years, which is not a knock on the city at all. It's just, we're at a good point now where we can continue to move forward with our parks and open spaces plan. You know, I look at a space like, well, certainly Legion Park. Legion Park is a great example of it, right? We had this discussion as staff last year when we were trying to find the original plans for some of that playground equipment, and it's best we can figure is it's on some old aerial imagery from the 70s, but not in the 50s. That's pretty telling about where some of our, you know, recreation infrastructure is, right? And that's some low-hanging fruit. It's expensive, but it's, you know, stuff that we can address. But looking, you know, more broadly, if we look at like Mayo Park, for example, you know, that had grand designs, and then for many years before all the serious flooding started, it, you know, was always a really green, beautiful space with a nice shelter. And now we know FEMA is going to redraw the maps, and all of a sudden most of that's, or at least a good chunk of that's going to be 100-year floodplain, which changes our long-term plans for that. So I think around parks in particular, we've made some improvements, but I'm really excited to see what the city is able to do. I'm excited to see what can happen with Legion Park in particular. With our rec facilities, we are right on the doorstep of starting the rec facilities master planning. We got our proposal in our back pocket here a few weeks ago now that we can start to discuss. Council can start looking at, which is good. Again, you know, the community center in particular is a great asset to the community that we need to figure out a better way to utilize that going forward. And that's not a negative or a black spot on the community center, right? That's just, we've had it for 50 years. Let's figure out a better way to use it for a 21st century recreational space. And we've already had, you know, some of those conversations in the community. The community likes it, wants to do more with it, make it, you know, an improved space, so that the investment that the community is making, whether it's in, you know, in levy dollars right now, which is, you know, to the tune of $700,000 to support the community center, or it's in membership fees. When people walk in those doors, we want it to be something that they're proud of, something that they believe in, something that they want to do. So improving that offering as well is something that, you know, is something that the city's going to have to address, which is a good thing. I think, you know, as we look to close out 2022, looking into 2023's budget cycle, it's going to be a difficult conversation, but a necessary one, and I think one that will ultimately be fruitful. I think that addresses parks, recreation, trails.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, Councilmember Williams.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Pam.
As you know, I'm fresh, new to this whole
Congratulations.
scenario, but that should be a good thing. So my question is, why do you want to be our next city administrator?
So a little over a year ago, I sat in this room when I was being interviewed for the finance director position, and they asked what my 5-year plan was. And I said, if council will have me, I don't want to leave the city of Sueur, and I would like to stay in this position. And admittedly, until having some conversations with previous administrator Jasper Krugel, this was not a position that was necessarily on my 5-year plan. Having said that, I cannot say enough good things about the staff that we have, the relationships that we have, the direction that this city is going. And it's important to me that we continue on the direction that we're going. And it's very important to me personally and professionally to do the best work that I can for our community. And I saw this when this was presented to me several weeks ago now as a natural next step in that progression towards serving this community. I'm not Janelle Teppen, I'm not Rick Almec, I'm not Jasper Krugel, I'm Joe Roby, and you can take that for what it is. But I believe in this community. I've been in leadership in this community for over a decade now in various capacities. And I believe that, I believe very strongly in the work that we do, and would like the opportunity to lead that charge for our staff and hand in hand with council as we move forward.
Thank you. Mr. Roby, I'm going to ask you the last question. Mayor Sean Kirby, give us 3 reasons why we should choose you as our next city administrator. And you don't have to number them. They can.
Yeah, that's fine. You can count them. That's fine. So as I mentioned, I've been in a leadership capacity in the private sector for a number of years before coming to the city here. And I believe fully that I have all the skills appropriate and necessary to undertake this role, including the thick skin that comes with the job. I have no question about that. You work in healthcare long enough and your skin thickens up pretty dramatically. So as far as skills go, communication and negotiation, I've negotiated contracts with several units in the past. Thinking critically, thinking analytically, from a skill set standpoint, I feel very strongly that I have the skills that this job requires. I have a great relationship with our staff right now. We have a phenomenal team who have made this last, several weeks of wildness palatable. Our staff turn what could be nightmares into dreams sometimes, and I appreciate them so much for that. And ultimately, what it comes down to is, I am for, of, and by this community, for better or worse, and am fully vested in its long-term success. Every decision that I make has a direct impact on my family, on me, on neighbors who know me and trust me, on council members who know me and trust me. And I would never want council to doubt that above all else, I have the best interest of this community in mind. And that doesn't mean that my ideas are always the best ones. I think one of the things that is important about this job is recognizing when you need to ask questions and recognizing when you need to look outside yourself for ideas. And that's something that I know I can do with a high degree of confidence. I think that's about 3 things.
You've done well.
Maybe 2.5. But no, I mean, ultimately, I care passionately about how this community succeeds, and I succeed or fail as this community succeeds or fails. And so it's to my own personal and professional benefit to see that this community succeeds. And I feel very strongly that I have what it takes to lead the staff here, to work closely with council, and to listen to our citizens to bring us the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future as the world around us continues to change.
Very good. Thank you. You've done well, as has Mr. Anderson. You both interviewed very well tonight. So I'd like to invite you to have a seat, Mr. Roby, if you're done. And at this time, I would like to open up the council to any type of discussion you want to share. This has been a long process for the ad hoc committee. As I said, it started about a month or 5 weeks ago, and started with 11 very good candidates, narrowed it down to 5 strong candidates, and now we're down to 2 extremely exceptional candidates. And at this time, I'd like to ask anybody for any type of discussion. Anybody have anything they'd like to ask?
If I may, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor. I was, how can I put it, honored, privileged to be a part of the ad hoc committee that screened people with the mayor and Councilmember Sullivan. And I'm proud of the fact that this council was able to interview these 2 gentlemen tonight. We've had an exceptional field of people, and these 2 came to the top. I want to point out that for everybody's concern, we've interviewed them tonight, but every council member has also reviewed their resumes, their applications, so we know more about them than we heard tonight. And again, in each case, it's exceptional when you look at who these people are and what they could do for our community. So it's always a difficult choice when you have great candidates. But I simply want to reinforce that we have an opportunity here, and certainly we want to have some more open discussion. So I thank my colleagues on that ad hoc committee. And by the way, our staff people were Rich, who was Rich Cusera was one of our advisors, as was Stacy Lawrence, and they guided us through the process, did a lot of the contacting of people, et cetera. So this wasn't just an easy process. There was a lot that went into it, and we're at the culmination of that. And I think we're going to be better as a city, whichever decision we make tonight. So thank you.
Very good. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, I would also like to thank the ad hoc committee for the work they've done behind the scenes on this. You folks have really done your homework. Two super strong candidates tonight. There's no losers in the two that we're interviewing tonight. So I appreciate the work that you folks put in behind the scenes, and thank the two of them for their work and their efforts throughout the interview process.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say, thank you, Mr. Swanberg, saying the same thing I would like to say. You both are great candidates. It was great to see both of you come forward and be part of the city, and it's going to be a hard decision. That's all I can say. And thank you both very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, just a couple quick comments. I'm not going to be quite so rosy in my descriptions. I looked through the backgrounds of all three of the candidates that we had, and especially the two we interviewed tonight. And obviously, they don't have everything that we're looking for in a city administrator, but if they had everything we wanted, we wouldn't be able to afford to hire them. We're going to have to work with whoever we choose to hire and mold them into what we want them to be also. I think both of you are very well qualified, and I think we can make a decision tonight.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'd just like to thank both of you for coming tonight. Was happy to see both of you at the first interviews and now again tonight. I really excited for this process, really excited to see who ends up being our next city administrator. I agree with what everybody else has said here. I think both of you are extremely qualified. So I don't want either one of you to walk away tonight feeling like it was a bad situation, because I think both of you are good candidates who would be good fits in the city of Sueur.
Anybody else?
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I'll add something real quickly, and then if somebody else wants to. I think one of the things we have to realize is what we're doing here. We're not just picking somebody to lead in general. The city organization, the city government is very complex. And we own the 3 utilities, or 4 if you count stormwater. It's an amazing responsibility that this person will have. There's the leading of staff, there's the community relations aspects, there's all the issues facing a community in the future as things change in our world and our state. So we're fortunate to have individuals that we can trust to do that. It's each of us has to decide who would be the best person for that. But I want to keep in mind the complexity of this. I've been on here, I didn't answer that question earlier, and I didn't want to answer it for Joe, telling people were saying how long he'd been, because I didn't do it for Mr. Anderson. But I've been on the council 5 years, going in my 6th year. And every year I learn more, I realize how complex it is. So we're picking somebody to lead us through a very, very important process of city government. And I'm just very pleased we're at the stage we're at with these 2 individuals. So thanks to both of them.
Thank you. In closing, I just want both of you to know that this decision is going to come down with several factors. One will be the trust factor. I think I speak for everybody here. We trust both of you gentlemen. Both of you shared a tremendous vision with us. I have no doubt that you both have good vision for this community and competence. I think you're both very competent gentlemen. I think I would have all the confidence in the world in you leading this community, leading this staff. What it's going to boil down to, gentlemen, what it's going to boil down to me and what it's going to boil down to everybody sitting here is who are we comfortable with? Who are we comfortable with as we move forward? And that's the question you've got to all ask yourselves as we prepare to vote here. So with that said, I'm going to open up this or any motions at this time to select a city administrator.
Just a question. Do we do this in an open meeting or do we close it to do that? It's
This is
open.
going to stay open.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Well, I will make that motion due to his strong financial background to hire Joe Roby.
Thank you, Councilmember Swanberg. Do we have a second?
And I second that.
It's been seconded by Councilmember Huntington. Any discussion, comments, concerns?
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
what we're doing here is offering the position to the individual. Then we have contract negotiations. It's not an instant hire, but that the point of that motion is that, I know. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Hi.
The ayes have it. Thank you. With that, we will have comments, reports, items of appreciation at this time. We'll ask that any council member, if you want to share anything, this is your opportunity. This is your platform. We will start with Councilmember Huntington.
Mayor, I don't have anything to share.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Krogman.
I have nothing, sir. Thank you.
Councilmember Schluter.
Since the last meeting, I did attend a Region 9 full board meeting on the 13th. Don't have anything special to report from that meeting. Also, there was an HRA meeting on the 19th. Coming up, Leesburg County officials meeting is going to be this Wednesday in Montgomery, and Region 9 is going to be speaking at that meeting in case anyone's interested in attending. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Sullivan.
I have nothing to report
Nothing.
tonight.
Councilmember Swanberg.
Just a couple of thank yous. Again, thank you to all of the folks who took the time to apply for that open council position. Congratulations to Pam. Also like to thank all of those who applied for the position of the Leesburg City Administrator.
Thank you. And moving on to Councilmember Williams. If you don't realize this, Councilmember Williams, we go in alphabetical order. It's not because you got on the council last, but if there's anything you want to share, if you don't, that's fine. So
No, I just want to say thank you for putting me in this position. I look forward to upholding your expectations and asking the questions. And I think we've made a great choice for city administrator. He was somebody who I envisioned would take my place.
thank you, Councilmember Williams. I don't have much to share other than, again, thank you to our candidates tonight for filling that council seat. Congratulations to Councilmember Williams. And lastly, thank you to Mr. Anderson for his time here tonight. I wish him well, and I wish all the best to our new city administrator pending negotiations that you will exceed the expectations of this council. Thank you. With that, I have nothing else to share. Mr. Kuchera, do you have anything?
Just a quick update, Mayor, that the CASA 36 is now scheduled to start next week, due obviously to the weather that we have outside. I believe probably currently, well, really close, within a couple hours. It's too cold to turn on the temp water. So hopefully we will start next week. Mother Nature will allow us to get going and we can get that project moving along. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to close this meeting.
So moved.
Mr. Huntington, seconded by Mr. Sullivan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?